My name is Nara Murillo. I'm the host of Agewell Avenue podcast, and my co-host is Barbara Slingloff.
On this show, we talk about navigating healthcare, housing, investing, and advocating for our seniors.
In this episode, I wanted to talk about my businesses, right? As to when I started the real estate venture, and also just the idea of running my own businesses. So, my first business that I had opened up, and as I talked about, being in the senior community and my passion for this and why I decided to go into real estate, this really stemmed from, I think back in 2021 is when, I think it was May, is when I filed the paperwork for my business that was supposed to basically run all of my real estate, right? So, and as we learn as we go on how all of these different real estate ventures, when it comes to whether you're buying and holding, or you're trying to flip, or if you're trying to wholesale, all these different things is really required for you to have an LLC, because you don't want to mix them up. So originally when I started, my goal was really just to kind of understand and just see what this real estate business is about. And as I got into it, I have to say, it was overwhelming. And so I opened 7-8 LLC in May of 2021. And of course, with that comes, you have to start working on a website and, representation of who you are as an individual and what you're trying to accomplish. And so I did all of those things. And one of the other things that I did, because this is obviously, a lot of people know real estate is not an easy business to be in. You really have to have the knowledge, or there's a lot of money at stake, right, that you can lose. So, so for me, it was really kind of understanding what this is about. So I actually paid and got education. I was part of, some people might know, I was part of Tariq El Musa's group. And so, and that was very, very short. It was literally 6 months. It was super fast between working and trying to accomplish and understand and learn. And it's not something that, I think it's very easy when you are a real estate agent and you're getting into investing, because it's kind of in that same area, right? Well, for me, it wasn't. I'm going from nursing to real estate, which is completely different things. And so just trying to kind of get my head around, all of this, and still try to, have a family and, take care of your family and doing your work and trying to run a business. It was a lot. So before I knew it, the 6 months was gone, and I had barely kind of understood what it took for me to be looking at properties and what I wanted to invest in, where I wanted to be. So after that, I had to pay additionally for me to stay in the group, for me to continue kind of my journey, where I decided that I didn't want to be, because I felt like I already got the value that I needed to get, and the knowledge that I needed to get from the group. So I didn't really feel that, me paying additionally, staying in the group was really going to benefit me. So I wanted to actually invest in something that I was going to be able to have more options and learn about, other ways of investing. And so I actually ended up paying and signing up for Pace Morby's community, which is basically creative finance, right? So creative finance is another tool that you learn to acquire properties. It's a great way of acquiring properties based on not really having a lot of money to put down up front, but also really fixing a problem that someone might have. And I really wanted to do that. I wanted to be able to help sellers with whatever situation that they had. I was equipped to be able to help these people out, right? Because ultimately I'm in this to help people. So why not help the sellers as well? And, everybody's happy at the end. So, regardless of whether you're helping seniors or you're helping sellers, it's really not that much of a difference of really helping people. So that's kind of what I decided to do. So I got into Pace Morby's community and learned a lot from that. And the great part about Pace Morby's group and the community, I don't know how it is right now, to be honest with you. I haven't really spoken to a lot of the newer ones that are coming on, but at the time when I signed on, it was a lifetime membership. So I paid one time and it was just, I was in the community, which was great. So I ended up kind of taking advantage of the community, right? Because it was such a large, I think at the time when I signed up, Pace Morby's community was, I want to say 8,000 people. So, you had so many folks doing this that there was, support from, different areas. And of course, in his community too, there was a lot of different investors. You had your mobile park investors, you had your land investors, you had your short-term, long-term investors, and you had your multifamily investors. So there was just so many different people investing in different things that I just felt that that would really be a benefit to me, and learning from all these different people, but also just ultimately helping each other out, right? So I ended up going into few, I would say it was few partnerships. And so, and really ultimately, partnerships are one of those things where it's like trying on a shoe, right? So when you are trying on a shoe, and at first it's painful, and then as you feel like it's supposed to get better, but it just doesn't get better, and so you just decide that that's really not the shoe that you want to be wearing or continue wearing. So partnerships are one of those things, but they're also so important because you're sharing so much. I always say it's like partnership is like a marriage. You're basically married to this person, right? But like by default, being in business, because you share money, and you also think about, how much one decision can impact not only you, but the other person as well, right? So you have to be taking all of these things into consideration. So one of my partnerships, I ended up partnering up with this guy that was part of Peace Morby's community. And, it just was not, I'm going to be frank and honest because this is just who I am as an individual. I'm not going to sugarcoat things. It just didn't, we were just not a good fit. Because it also comes down to how you operate something and what your beliefs are, right? So in business, for me, it was all about running it the right way, and putting in that, that time, that whatever that I signed up to do, right? Or whatever my roles and responsibilities were. So it's really about that at the end of the day. And so I just felt like our personalities weren't aligned, and what we were trying to accomplish wasn't really aligned. So it just was, it was very short lived. I think it was like a couple of months, and we just kind of ended up going in our own way, in our own direction. So that kind of ended, which was great because you don't want to put too much time into something that it's not going to work, right? So the other thing, the other partnerships that I got into, it wasn't really partnerships so much because I was basically in multifamily, and I was trying to sell some multifamily, but these were like really, really big deals. I mean, some of these properties were 80 units, 60 units, like they were just big properties, right? So and of course it was like millions and millions of dollars, and you have to have a certain type of buyer for these types of properties, right? So So of course I got into that a little bit and just kind of try to learn and understand, but it wasn't really partnerships. It was just like few of us that were kind of working on it, and the split was going to be basically splitting into, we each got some percentage out of it. And so I did that for short term. And then I didn't really feel like I fit in that. That's not really what I wanted to do. So I really wanted to focus on single family. So I decided to, that was kind of short lived too. I didn't do it for too long. But it just was something that I just was like, yeah, this isn't really for me. I don't really want to be doing this. So I'm just going to, come out. So, and then one other one was, obviously in this community, um, we did a lot of practice calling, right, of like the sellers when you're having conversations and things like that. So for me, I think the conversations weren't a very big deal of really kind of finding out and talking to these sellers about what they were selling, or if they were interested in selling their properties, because I knew how to build relationships from my nursing experience, right? Because of, I did case management. So a lot of these conversations that I was managing these patients' care was telephonic. So I kind of already knew that. So it wasn't really anything new for me to really build relationships. And, when you come from a place of good, when you're going to be doing something good and you're going to be helping somebody out, you're not scared of picking up the phone and calling and talking to someone. That's not what I was worried about, or, you know, um, building the relationship. I never shied away from that. So I think that for me, it was just, I think it had just a different type of challenge, so I actually wanted to give it a shot. And I'm like, you know what, this is a whole new kind of arena, even though I'm familiar with this, but I'm talking about something completely different. So then I actually got into another team, and it was still part of Pace Morby's team community. And so I started calling people. So I was actually calling sellers in North Carolina. And so it was interesting because I was 3 hours behind. So I was California time and I was calling North Carolina. So I was waking up early in the morning to get like all my calls in and basically speak to these people. And it was interesting though. I learned so much, right? It's these people, what you have to understand is they get so many different calls. And I think to me, it was fascinating because a lot of them were just throwing a number out there, right? It's like, okay, what are you asking for this property? And they would just throw a number out there. And I was always interested and curious is, how did you come up with that number, and they would just be like, well, you're interested in buying my house, so this is my number. And so I was always thinking, wow, okay, you have no clue about what your house is costing, but I'm just going to throw a number out there. But eventually I just kind of got used to it, right? As the more you do it, the better you become, just like anything else, right? Repetition is always um, just makes you better, right? It just, you kind of come across every situation and you already have an answer for that. So I think for me, it was just one of those things that it just fascinated me. And I was always, curious, and it was almost challenging for me. Honestly, I was just like, okay, who am I going to get today? So it was just fun for me. It wasn't really like, I wasn't dreading it. I wasn't like, oh my gosh, do I have to do this again today? Which was really so interesting. It's about the mindset that you have, and just shifting that mindset a little bit just goes a long way. And so I was always just, and I would just tell them, straightforward, I'm sorry, but I don't think I'm your buyer for today, given that, these people would just ask for numbers that didn't even match what their property, was even closely, remotely worth. So I did that for a little bit, and then I moved on to like another method of working with agents. And so that was a completely different experience. And so as I was working with a lot of these agents, they were bringing me deals that were on the market. And at the time, mind you, I already had my license, my real estate license. So technically I could have just went on MLS and find whatever property I wanted, right? So, and I was basically trying to tell them, I'm really looking for properties that are, basically, in a nutshell, value adds, right? That I'm going to be obviously taking it down and rebuilding. And so, I would always get these things that, these agents would bring me deals that were basically market value. And I was like, okay, well, that's not going to work for me. Like after running numbers, it just wasn't making sense. So, so that was a little bit of that I did. And so I think that, everything has its, you have to do, and this is the reason why I did this, is because you have to kind of do a combination of things. Because when you're talking about marketing in real estate, if you don't have few different marketing areas that you're focusing on, you're not going to get the lead generation that you need. So basically, it's going to be one property every once in a blue moon, that you get, right? So you have to have that consistent flow in your pipeline in order for you to be able to really, in the end, make a decision of um, whatever you're trying to do, whether it's flipping, whether it's buy and hold, whatever that looks, right? So, but when you're doing those different things, then every opportunity, every property that comes to you, you have an idea of what you want to do with that. Or you also take that on as one way, but then you also think about, hey, if this doesn't work, then I have, plan B or C, right? You always want to do that with properties, especially in this day and age with real estate is just crazy right now these days. But so that was kind of in a nutshell a little bit of what I did. And I think at that point the only thing I hadn't done was really wholesaling. So I just wanted to I got into really trying to learn how to raise money, right, for my properties. And so I obviously, with a lot of um, investors, they, even though we utilize different types of loan options and things like that, but funding wise, you're only going to be able to get funding for a percentage of that property. It's hardly ever where you get 100% of someone funding your deal. So actually getting into this, I started on Pace Morby's community. One of these times, I was on live, and they had Amy Majuri on, and so I was just fascinated about what she does and how she raised millions and millions of dollars. And just so happened to be, she was actually going to be in California, like I think it was like few weekends after that when I had seen her. So I ended up signing up for her one-day workshop in Marina del Rey. And so I went, and it was one of the greatest experiences. I connected with her right away, and I loved her community because it wasn't big, and it was very much a tight knit community. And she really, really cared about her community and their success. And so for me, it was just right away, I was like, you know what, this is what I want to be part of. So I signed up for her community, and met with a few of the people that were already in the community. And so I think that in that classroom that we had, I think it was like maybe 10 of us or 12 of us, I don't even remember now, it was a few years back, but I think we all but maybe two or three that didn't sign up for her community. So, and we're still great friends as of today. We're very close, all of us, as a community. So, so I just started learning about how to raise money, because obviously I work with a lot of medical people that, could invest. And that's a whole another conversation about that piece, but I will talk about it at some point in one of the episodes of the challenges that comes with that as well in the medical industry. But so I learned about that, and then I ended up after learning and understanding all this, I actually decided I was going to go big or go home. And so I went ahead, and at the time I signed up for a he's very known. I'm not even going to put his name out there, but basically it was a call center that I had used in Egypt, because I knew that in order for me to have been able to really utilize what I need to pick up as far as properties go for my senior community, and I did want to do a little bit of a fix and flips, and just to kind of get my feet wet and get the experience that I needed, I really needed to have you know a pipeline of properties. And so I went ahead and I think it ended up costing me $12,000. I basically ended up paying for a list that was 60,000 leads. And so they were calling, and they were, I had, I think, five callers and one acquisition manager that was closing. And so I did this for about, I want to say, a month or so. And so I realized that, I think it was even a little bit more than that, maybe. So I realized that I was just pouring money into this and I wasn't really getting any leads, none. So it was really disappointing. And it was almost, I realized that this wasn't going anywhere, and I needed to really just be done with that, right? With the call center and whoever I was working with. So I ended up basically firing them. And I ended up joining ventures with a partner of mine that is, we've been partners. I think we partnered up in 2023. And so we actually decided that, why don't we get together? And because obviously my passion was seniors, and his passion was helping middle class families to become homeowners. So we decided to kind of put our efforts together, and because like we're both strong, just trying to go into, and I also, don't forget, I had these 60,000 leads that were basically just there. So I said, why don't we just get together and we get into Memphis, and we can also utilize these leads because we already have them, right? And he had his own VA and his own team and everything else. And he was already in two states. He was already investing two or three states at the time. So we decided to do this. And so back in 2023 of March, I opened up two LLCs. It was Athea Property Solutions and Armonia Investments. And so I also filed a foreign for 7-8 as well in Memphis for some of my buy and holds. And I think he filed, or I filed a foreign for him as well for his business in Memphis, just so that we had different buckets, that if we were buying and holding, or if we were doing Airbnbs, or if we were doing wholesaling, it was all going into different LLCs. So we ended up filing, and it took us a long time. I mean, we were literally, we went in there and we set up a team, and the team was supposed to, we were setting up a team as far as a real estate agent and obviously contractors, and just different things, right, of like lenders. And so just all of that needed to be set up. So we went out there, we set it up, we looked at, and Memphis is a very, very tricky state because street to street, it's different. You could have one street be amazing and then the other street is terrible. So it's a really challenging market to begin with. And so we finally ended up getting a property under contract in September of 2023. And we ended up flipping this property. And then we ended up getting another one in December. We also flipped this property. But in the meantime, it was just, market was getting just ridiculous there. It was just very, very, I would say, it was hard to get properties based on how much people wanted for their properties. It was just so difficult. And then getting a hold of people, it was just very challenging. Also, when you have a contractor that's not really the greatest, communication wise, it's like it becomes very tough. And so, eventually I think that, once we start doing more flips or whatever the case may be, I would have to more than likely basically put together my own team. But yeah, so that was kind of in a nutshell of where we're at right now. We actually acquired an Airbnb as well there, and so but that's kind of where we're at right now. We are trying to we did some wholesaling more of this year, but it's just been really difficult to try to find a end buyer and still be able to survive. It's just one of those things that's really tough to do. And even for a senior housing, even if I was trying to buy a property for senior housing, just the rents, between the rents and the purchase price, was just not making sense. I wouldn't even be able to really place these people and be able to, I would just be in a negative. I wouldn't even be able to really survive, you know, just helping these people. So it just wasn't financially making sense at all. And uh, at the same time, I also, in between all of this, I also signed up for RAL, which is basically a senior. It's a senior, like a lot of the RCFEs that take care of seniors. The boarding cares. I don't know if you all know, but it's basically senior homes that are smaller. It's not those big ones like, your bigger assisted livings with like 200 beds, but these are smaller homes. They're, basically, I would say maybe 6 to 8 people that could be in each home. And then that also depends on the state of, how many people you can have in the home and what the licensure requirements are. So you really have to look at each state as different. So I got into that. And my goal was, if I was going to be opening one, it was really going to be something that was going to be for memory care, because there's not a lot of resources in memory care, and it's just, there's so much need. So and since I knew that eventually I was going to end up in Texas, I did my research in Texas. I went into the different assisted livings and looked at, the needs and, what that looked like as far as the housing and the homes. Looked at all the different areas of where I wanted to be. And at that time when I was doing all this, it was like the height of 2020, 2021, where everybody was just asking for some astronomical numbers. Everybody was closing like 20,000, 30,000 over asking. So it just, again, was not going to make sense for me to be able to really survive and buy that and still be able to, because ultimately I didn't want to have a property just to have a property. I wanted to be able to have this business really taking care of these people the right way, because memory care is no joke. Memory care is something that you have to have the right caretakers in place to be able to, it takes a certain requirement of knowledge. There's certain knowledge that's required, and you have to be able to really know how to take care of these folks. So I just wanted to make sure that we were able to do that. And at the time, I just wasn't able to. So I kind of set it on ice for a little bit, just so that I was able to kind of come back to that and be able to do that down the road, which is still in my goals of one of the things to do. But that's kind of in a nutshell my real estate journey. And right now, I think my focus is really trying to find properties that are going to be reasonable enough, that are, even if they're not, even if they're not needing to be, rebuilt, but they're turnkey, but reasonably priced, where I can just even just rent out rooms for a lot of these seniors that are single, that are needing that, company. Right. So for me, it was really about that. So that's kind of what I'm looking for right now, is to be able to find those types of properties. So, just kind of looking at our lead generation, and guys, to be honest, this is not real estate is not for the weak. You have to have tenacity. You have to have persistence. You have to have tolerance. It's a lot of a win and lose game. And so it really just depends on what you're trying to accomplish and what you're trying to do. But at the end of the day, you have to understand that the numbers has to work, and even for you to be able to give back and, do things right. So I think that's pretty much what I would say in a nutshell about real estate. My other thing that's up and coming, as I've talked about, is the nonprofit that I'm working on, opening in next year. It would probably be, the paperwork has been filed. It's just waiting for approvals and everything, and hopefully it'll be up and running in January. This is it's Zen Senior Care Services. And so it is, this is going to be a nonprofit organization focusing on the seniors, alone only. And it's basically going to be A to Z service. At first, we're not going to be doing, obviously everything. We're going to start slowly and kind of see, because it's only going to be me and Barbara that are going to be running it. So it's going to be basically just, we are probably going to be picking few things that we're going to be focusing on, the most impact, and kind of grow it from there, because we really have to be able to raise funds for it, for us to be able to do this really full time and focus on that and really try to impact and help a lot of people. So if anyone's interested in donations and helping us out with this nonprofit financially, please email me, reach out to me. I would love to have a chat with you and kind of explain what this is about. And it's an amazing thing to be part of. So if you are wanting to help out and do some good, this is going to be it. And so it's really something exciting that I've been wanting to do for a very, very long time. I think my entire career since I got into nursing. So I'm super, super excited about that. And I think that one of the biggest things is really understanding that these seniors need that one-on-one. And I think that's what I'm trying to bring, and basically have them have that support, right? For them to have that support. And so, and I think it's just going to be amazing. And I think they're going to love it. And I think we're going to just be so happy impacting people's lives. And, again, I'm working on it right now as far as operations is concerned. Me and Barbara are working on that. And so we'll probably start, little by little, as far as, vendors that we're going to be working with. And, obviously, as I've been doing this for many, many years. I know a lot of vendors that I work with very closely, that I know that provide excellent care. And so, because this is actually stemming in California and it's going to be based out of California, a lot of the people and the seniors that we're going to be helping is really going to be based out of California right now, because we all know there's a huge need there too. So, and then of course, alongside with all of this, as I said, it's going to be A through Z service. One of the other things is going to be housing. We're also going to be able to provide housing, but now I'm more pivoting in the multifamily arena, where we are going to be able to provide housing for these seniors to be able to not only have the options of board and cares, but also be able to rent their own apartment. I'm not really sure as far as funding wise. I mean, we don't know if we're going to maybe have our seniors even help us out and, fund it as well, or, have some sort of ownership in that. I don't know all of the details yet. And as we kind of, come across those things and go through this experience, I will definitely be talking about it on the podcast. So, but in the meantime, some exciting things coming our way. And, I'm just all the way around just thrilled. And, I just know we're going to be making such a big impact. And the more we can do to help, and, the better it is. And just have these seniors have some sort of assistance and some sort of support. Right. And that's really what it's about for us. And I can't wait to get started. But in the meantime, thank you so much again for joining, and I will see you on the next one.
The most fun way to watch us is on YouTube, so be sure to like and subscribe. Also, you can follow me on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and listen on Apple and Spotify as well. If you would like to learn more about a specific topic, please reach out to us by email. You can find all this information below in the show notes.